Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to the new masterclass of HOTS, which is going to be about the German live market. And we have two amazing guests today, Christian from Powerline Agency and Kino from Reeperbahn, responsible for the industry partners and also the showcase programming. And for all of you watching on YouTube, please do subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and follow our channel and look at the other videos. We have tons of really great content about the music industry and how to get around in this world, if that's what you want to do. So, without further ado, I'd like you guys to introduce yourself a little bit, starting with Kino first, and just explain a little bit what you do, and also a bit of a personal ambition, like why you are where you are right now, like just a little short arch.
Yeah, sure. Hello. Thanks for being here. Yes, my name is Keno Mensing. I started as a basically beat producer. I played this lo-fi jazz vibes game a little bit, and had some placement in these kind of playlists. And after that, I started working as an artist manager, which was then my entry in the music industry. On the other side, after working as an artist manager, I went to PR. And from PR, I went to Reeperbahn Festival, where I'm coordinating showcases and networking events at the moment. But I still work at the PR side of music and do some PR for labels like Sub Pop, City Slang, and working for an agency called Factory 92.
Thank you. Christian?
Hello, my name is Christian. Most people call me Kermis, but you can call me whatever you feel like you want to call me. I work at Powerline Agency. We're an agency based in Leipzig and Berlin. We have an agency branch which is quite classic. We represent bands all over Europe and the UK, some of them even worldwide, and we have a bigger promoter branch where we promote and organize shows in Germany. I come from playing music. That was my gateway into the music industry. Maybe it was because I was a drummer. Everybody that used to play the drums kind of had to hold the band together. That's at least what I experienced in the past. And I kind of liked the environment. I liked the people I was working with. I liked the organization. I, of course, loved to travel to other places, meet other people, join other communities, create a bigger network of people you know and like, and ultimately also work together. And I programmed the music festival. I was self-employed with my own agency for a while. I promoted shows in a city where I was growing up in for a long time, and then way later, all after that, I joined Powerline Agency, and 2.5 years ago I also bought into the company, so I'm also a co-owner of the company now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you too.
To give us a bit of context about the German live industry and the live market, could you help us just grasp, like, we know it's huge and it's really diverse and all kinds of subgenres and bigger genres have a huge presence and representation. And it's been growing as well, reportedly, the live industry in Germany, but it's not all rosy in all fields. Could you give us a bit of insight into what's going on in Germany these days?
So there's lots of music in Germany, of course, but if you want to talk the industry side of things, I think for a person coming from the outside world, you have to understand that the German live music market is kind of split between the biggest players in the market, which is, of course, Live Nation and Scorpio. It's the same for a lot of other territories, and I don't want to sound judgmental or anything, they're just the biggest companies in the country. Those two are doing the biggest festivals in Germany. That's why a lot of the bigger artists are wanting to work with them, because that's usually a gateway for other, or for bands to like break into the German market, play at one of these prestigious big festivals, so-called Southside Hurricane, Rock am Ring, Rock am Park. That's the reason why people want to work with them, because for up-and-coming band, that's a very nice gateway for your career. But apart from that, there's lots of smaller independent promoters, lots of smaller independent companies, actually lots and lots of booking agencies, lots and lots of promoters, a very diverse and probably, I'm not wrong to say, gigantic festival market, because there's so many festivals out there, very small scale festivals up to very big ones, showcase festivals like Reeperbahn Festival and others. So yes, looking at it from the outside perspective, it feels there's a lot of stuff going on in the German market, but maybe it's me being a bit tired of seeing the same names everywhere all the time. I also kind of think it's not that diverse and not that big and crazy as it may look from the outside, but maybe that's just a false interpretation on my end.
Yeah, I mean, there's huge power concentration, I'm sure, but don't you feel the more grassroots events and promoters and the DIY scenes are kind of like big enough still to also give space for a healthy, diverse culture?
Yes, I think certain cities have very good and diverse communities still. The DIY scene is still present. I come from DIY. That's how I started getting into the business. I wanted to do it on my own. That's basically what DIY is, but it also is connected to a certain kind of music, of course. But you have these scenes in all of the bigger cities, but what I have recently experienced, and which is making me feel really good about the next generation, is that in East Germany, where I live and work, also outside of the cities, you can see small communities trying to build something, starting to run a festival with the try and error principle, which is very fruitful, I think, and it's great for me to see that there's a next generation coming that is doing the same as we did when we were their age. That's probably always happening, but it's the first time for me to see it happen. Maybe that's a generational conflict that I have, but I haven't seen it before, so it makes me kind of proud to see that there's a scene fighting against cultural change, politicians or politics in general, or against fascism, which is a big topic in the east of Germany. And kind of lost the point. I forgot the question, but I can go on if you want.
No, I think you answered it. I was asking about how the smaller scenes and the DIY scenes are still there and flourishing in a way, and it's big enough. Okay, Kino, what is your perspective on Germany and the live market?
I can't say too much about the live market, to be honest, at this point. I think Kirmes really pointed out a lot what is going on there, which is super interesting for me as well. But when I step outside the Reeperbahn Festival and take a look into the radio world where I live and where I work with a lot of independent labels and independent artists, I think especially because of this really diverse radio world in Germany, we do have a very, how to say, there's a huge DIY community and independent community which is really works well in this kind of field, which is outside the streaming kind of stuff, if you know. Yeah.
And perhaps because you're very involved with PR and communications, then I'm sure you also experience how the local demand and the local music, the demand for local music is growing more and more on the platforms as well. And do you see that translating well into the live area as well?
I have an answer. Yes, but I also kind of think for domestic artists in their own country, there has always been a market. So I mentioned a few of the bigger festivals earlier, and if you look at the top 3 or top tier artists that are playing at these festivals, there's lots of domestic stuff in there. I think, don't want to go back to dark times like COVID, but I think it kind of helped developing the domestic market again, because a lot of these events were lucky enough to go ahead during the summer with like crazy regulations, of course, but they needed to book artists that are in the territory. They could not depend on international touring because there was no international touring. And even if it was very risky to spend, I don't know, a 6-digit number on a headliner that may or may not appear. And so smaller festivals, but also the bigger ones, kind of started booking domestic artists more. And I think it stuck because, yes, there's great music coming from Germany. And of course, these bands should also play on the German festivals, especially if they sing in German, which is a limited market if you look at it in a global scale. But and I see this as a positive. Forgot the word. I see it as a positive thing.
Yeah, okay. Again, going back to Kino, but you still work with a lot of international artists at Reeperbahn, especially. Is that the right approach? Or because there's also a lot of German bands, of course, but we looking at the show as it as a showcase essentially for international acts. Do you look after that area as well, or mainly the local ones?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, also at Reeperbahn Festival, we see that the domestic German market is growing and plays a huge role there as well. But still, Reeperbahn Festival has an international approach, and when it comes to showcases, networking, but also the programming team, we work with like mainly international still. Yeah.
And do you feel there's more difficult? They are in a more difficult situation, the international bands, or there's enough opportunity for them? Or how do you see that? Like, how do you see Reeperbahn as a stage for international bands? It's more to just go there and network with the folks in the industry, or it's kind of like a stepping stone for a career?
It honestly really depends on where you are in your career. So I can't really say if it's like if you have a good team, if you have like reached a certain stage in your career, Reeperbahn Festival of course can help you to get to the next stage, of course. But yeah, it doesn't. No, I think I made my point. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but when you look at a band, what do you think about them in relation to the event, to the festival? Like, okay, it would be good for them because this and this, or it would be good for the event actually because of this and this. So what are the decision points?
I mean, since I'm not part of the programming team, okay. I can't really say too much about it, but from my conversations with the booking team, I know it's both, of course. On the one hand, we are a newcomer artist, and it's very important for us to give newcomers the stage they needed at that point when we are booking them. But of course, we are also looking into the headliners and trying to sell tickets, which is also important for us. So we are looking at the headliners as well, of course.
Okay, and when you think of strategies, let's say, of bands, how they want to go and tackle this beast, the Germany, do you see strategies that kind of work, or maybe categories that might work better than others? Is there, because what I'm getting at is also, if you look at, I don't know, metal bands, for example, all kinds of metal bands, Behemoth, if I pronounce it well, from Poland, for example, they have a great following in Germany. Some other similar, but they are very niche, very metal, and of course, that's a strong scene. For them, it's a bit maybe a more beaten track to go in Germany. For others, it seems like it's a bit more difficult unless they have a strong strategic backing from export offices, let's say. And for others, it's kind of maybe pure luck or just good networking. Or what do you see that is working out maybe for even more smaller countries like Eastern European countries?
Okay, metal is actually a very good, yeah. When you have your niche and you have a good team around it, of course it's a little bit easier to get into the market, because when you know the right people in the market you aiming for, then they are knowing the right strategies to go the right ways. Sorry, what was the question again?
Like if you see any good strategies that bands or their teams are trying to come with when they come to Reeperbahn. For example, when they pitch you their stories or pitch you anything, you know, that piques your interest. Do you see anything that's re-emerging?
It's really it's a good question. I would say a good story is a good thing to come with at Reeperbahn Festival, but even more important is to have like the right team around you. So yeah, when you really aim for like being part of the curated program and want to aim for that, I mean there are like, I don't know, around 200 places for newcomers, and there are hundreds of applications every day. The story must be really good. So the best strategy is to be like fully transparent, to have like a good connection to the right agents who are, I don't know, for example, Powerline. When you go through all these applications day by day, you need some kind of filter, and these are basically.
And when you see on the application, oh, we have some gigs booked with Powerline, then you let's put it in the maybe file.
Yeah. Actually, when you have a filter. You need a filter, of course. I know they're really trying to go through all these applications, but in the end, you need to know if the artist is ready or not. And you need persons you can trust, and you need persons you can talk with when it comes to like the question, are they export ready or not, which is like the big question every time. And when you have like, for example, Kimis, who is then an agent, I know Ari's calling him, is like, okay, we have this artist, sounds really interesting. What do you think? Is this artist ready to export or not?
And when do you think your work can really help a band? At what stage or in the process?
Yeah, this is like always the question. It's super hard to define the right stage when it's time for Reeperbahn Festival. But all I can say, and I know it's not really, I don't know, satisfying to say, but yeah, you need the right team around you who supports you in, I don't know, every way you need to get like export ready, which is like, I don't know, PR in the one way, then a good live agent for the market you're aiming for. For
and Christian, do you guys use Reeperbahn as a filter or as some kind of?
If Reeperbahn Festival suggests bands to us, you mean?
Or the other way around, like you see bands on Reeperbahn and it's more interesting to you.
I'm in a very fortunate situation that we always have a lot of bands play at Reeperbahn Festival. Thank you. So for me, when I go, I usually try and see our own bands, which is my priority. Also because a band playing a headline show in their home city, for example, in the venue that they've already played 20 times, is ultimately a very different experience than seeing a band somewhere where they know nobody in a venue that they haven't played within a showcase. A showcase for an artist is very stressful. You have very little time to do a changeover, to do a proper set. There is no sound check really, there's a line check. You play with backline, you have probably never played. So you, as Kino said, you have to be ready to do that, and you have to have it done. It's best if you've done it before and if you know how it works. Because usually it's a situation you come, set up, and at the moment you're ready, you have to play because there's a stage manager forcing you out on stage, which is complicated and puts a lot of pressure on the artists. if I see bands at Reeperbahn Festival that I'm not working with, then I'm usually looking at stuff that I already find interesting. And I go by my own taste, really. There's stuff that may be interesting for me to work with because they have an excellent team around them. That would maybe be a situation where I'd say, okay, I check them out even though it's musically not for me. Maybe there's something in the live show that I find really intriguing. But I also want to go to a showcase festival like Reeperbahn Festival or other showcase festivals to really see something nobody has seen before. Because I want to go there and experience something. I want to find something that is not already wanted by 200 other agents. I don't want to go into the shark situation and be a shark myself to steal a band from someone. I don't want that. Of course, I sometimes have to because we also have to make a dime at the end of the day, but it's difficult. And
you both highlighted the right team or the excellent team. Does it mean people you know, or you know that those people know their way around, or what does it mean exactly?
When it comes to strategies, and having the right team around you is also about what do you need and what do you want. When you come to Reeperbahn Festival and have no idea what you actually need or what is your next step, there's basically no point of being there. When you have the right team around you, that is the question. They are probably knowing what you need next, So what I did as PR manager before I worked at Reeperbahn Festival was invitation management, which is like super important for especially showcase acts. And that's basically what it's all about when it comes to your show, inviting the right people. And to invite the right people, you obviously need to know what you want as a next step. Is it publishing, label? Do I need a label? Do I need a artist booker or whatever? So this is a really important point, and what I'm trying to tell like every showcase artists every year before the festival begins. So
yeah. And so you both been working in this for some time. Do you see the music culture changing in recent years in a way that is going maybe not hand in hand with the demand, or what I mean is that there's more and more people just capable of making music, releasing music, maybe even playing it live, and it's just so much abundance, and it's so difficult to actually build any kind of following because it's so abundant. Do you see that as a great, healthy, organic way of the music culture evolving, or it's actually making your life even a bit more difficult or harder being in the industry yourself?
I'm going to say something that maybe sounds very unfriendly to anyone writing an email to me, but I have a way of looking at messages that I receive where I can see how the text looks like and which words they use, and what they are wanting to ask me or what they are looking for, which is something that I will decide within a few seconds. I look at the email, I'm like, this is interesting, I want to check this out. But I also do it the other way around. I look at them I'm like, oh, sorry, I do think this email is probably written by ChatGPT. I'm not going to look into this because I think it's bullshit. Which has led to the situation that I have missed opportunities, of course, but I'm not going to blame myself for that because that's the way I work. I do think it's really complicated these days, and it's a good problem. I'm not going to judge it, but there's so much music. It has never been easier to make music and to release music, to put your music on a streaming platform as ever before. It's so easy, and I appreciate the fact that it is that way, because there's lots of music out there we would never hear if that wouldn't be the case. But it's really complicated to filter that stuff, because there's also lots of good stuff out there, lots of copycats, of course, lots of people see a video trending on the social media platforms and then they try and copycat the music and the way the video looks. And yes, this could also work out because this music is currently trending, which is making it more difficult, and now I'm coming back to the word we talked about before, to find something that is really authentic. and there's not really a good filter for authenticity. I think it's you will see it in a split second if something is authentic or not. If you see an artist going on stage, and that's why it's great that Reeperbahn Festival, for example, is showcasing artists, giving them a platform to play a live show. I, for myself, can decide within a few seconds if I like it or not, or if I see a potential in it, which maybe sounds unfriendly to others, but it's my job, and I've been doing it for so long. I kind of know what I want and what I'm looking for. But it became much harder because there's so many great performers out there. And recently went to a showcase festival, saw lots of bands that were so good. They were so good, it was already boring. And I thought, maybe they are too professional. They've already peaked. Like they've been over the point where I could do something with them as an agent and build their profile, which is also a new problem. Never had that before.
Interesting. Kino, what do you think?
Yeah. Okay. I also have a very personal take on this, because we had this conversation about authenticity. Jesus Christ, sorry. For me, I really, and this is, I'm going a little bit back to my radio work, because I feel like this is also very has a connection to what we are talking about, because there's so many things. I don't know. I just heard a number that. At Deezer, there are 60,000 song uploads every day, and half of it is AI bullshit. So, and this is what we are hearing in DSPs, and this music is like everywhere. Luckily, not in live, not yet. But so, what I really enjoy in the radio world is like. Having a more conservative way of telling a music story, telling an album, giving the songs time to breathe, having like 6 or 8 weeks between these songs, so everything else is like really, it's too much, and it's too much for the bookers, it's too much for everyone. And when I'm going back to my radio world, then I can try to tell the story of artists where they like put their heart in, you know. And having these albums throwing into the digital ether, I don't know. It not just bored me. I think this is like really toxic for a lot of things going on. So trying to tell the story of an album which can lead into like a show at Reeperbahn Festival is what I'm really aiming for in my way of working with labels and artists and all that stuff. Yeah, not sure if that was answering the question, but I wanted to make this point.
Yeah, no, that's great, absolutely. And just to reflect on this number, what is even scarier is how the number of AI songs being listened is also growing crazy.
Yeah, and they're trending
yeah.
in charts, which is like, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry for making this AI debate. No, it's boring. I know we're talking about it all the time, but it's like reality and trying to.
Yeah, but there's also, a lot of people argue it's hybrid creation, and if you spend a lot of time with it, not just like a button and a prompt, then there's a craftsmanship that can go into it in one way or another.
Yeah, I think it's a big difference if you see someone really knowing how to work the instrument, as opposed to listen to a song where the instrument just sounds good. And I think that's why life still matters. And I also believe people have been saying good and bad things about the live industry all the time. It's sometimes, like, there's shows that are never working out and others that are always working out, and there's stuff in between that works and works not. I think it will stay an integral part of anyone's culture to go out and see a show, whatever music it is, but to see people play their instruments, because that's the one point we can still make against AI, for example. Like, not yet, I'm not sure what's next, but right now it has to be a human playing the instrument. And it's also a human putting its emotions into the instrument and being able to witness that on a stage is a very special moment.
Yes, and playing it live is also such a big part of telling the story of the album for me. So it's different, and it's another perspective of the song when I'm hearing it live after listen to it. Like, yeah. Anyway, you get my
And
point.
when you piece together the story of an album or an artist, do you rely on the press materials mainly, or you really like to dig into their socials and just go deep in what they've been showing of themselves?
When it comes to Reeperbahn Festival,
Or just in any when you work with labels, for example, when you just try to grasp the story of an artist and sense the authenticity.
Yeah, good question. I'm trying to avoid going into the socials. I'm sounding like an old man, but of course, social media is also a big part of telling a story. And if you if you know what you're doing and you know what to tell, then there are definitely creative ways to work with it. But no, my way of going into the story of the artist is basically the music and the press material, but also the interviews. What are they going to tell? But of course, when the programming team at Reeperbahn Festival looking into artists, they also take a look into the social media, and they also look into numbers, which is also like a big thing still, unfortunately, but monthly listeners is a thing when it comes to booking artists.
Yeah, I didn't even mean that, just how they present themselves, what kind of videos, images, how they portray themselves, basically, not about the numbers. How are you?
I think, yes, I want to look at how the artist is presenting itself, but it's also shifting away my focus from the music sometimes, because yes, there are many great artists that have a very special and interesting way of presenting themselves, but at the end of the day, the music doesn't do it for me, which is ultimately also a reason to book or not book an artist for me. I recently listened to an old interview of Frank Zappa, speaking of sounding like old people, but where I think he went on an MTV live video interview, and he was reflecting what the music video means for the artist back in the days, and he said something like, it's the labels that maybe throw a bone at you, which is a big advance, or back in the days it was a big advance, lots of money to create your album, but the album back in the days it would cost an artist $100,000 and $120,000, $150,000 to make it, to produce it, to master it, to put it out. And when the music videos came in, which is long ago for us, lots of artists were speaking negatively about the music video because it would give a false representation of the music and the artist, and it would shift focus away from the music. And Zappa said something like, the music video doesn't do anything for the artist. It doesn't make the music better. And I agree to that. It doesn't do anything to the music. The music could speak for itself. It's so strong. Like creating an album. Here, probably some of you are artists. You have done it before. It takes so much effort and time to do it right and to get it to a point where you think, I'm ready to release this into the world for other people to listen to it. This step alone costs thousands of euros, lots of time, investment, emotion. And then on top of that, like spending 25,000 euros on a pro music video, or maybe even more, really doesn't make sense in my idealistic worldview. But I grew up with music videos. I grew up in the 90s. I grew up with MTV and all of that stuff. So I also know certain videos have a language that speaks for the artist. If I remember the Beastie Boys, for example, or stuff like that where they put a lot of money and a lot of fun into the music video productions. It's their own visual identity in a way. But still, I go back to the video shifts focus away from what it actually is, music. And the music itself is already great. It doesn't really need the video. It doesn't really need the social media. It doesn't need the PR. But yes, from my perspective as an agent, if a band ends up on the cover of the NME, I'm of course also a little bit interested, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Staying on the socials for a bit, because the global culture is so available for everyone everywhere, and it's, you know, there's a lot of argument of this becoming a bit more homogeneous, and it's maybe easier to figure out the mindset of a certain crowd in this different country. Is that a thing, or you feel there are still, in fact, a lot of like cultural barriers, if you will, that, you know, the German audiences are peculiar because of this and this, and it's harder to break in, and for, let's say, a Hungarian band, or you know, in certain genres there's like no limits and no cultural barriers as such, and there's really doesn't matter where anyone is coming from. How do you see that?
I'm going to say something really quick. I think the one positive thing about social media and streaming is that language doesn't really matter anymore, or it matters less, at least. The way we consume music has changed, and we have to live with that, even though, again, in my idealistic worldview, it doesn't make any sense. But we listen to music when we hang out in shops and drink our coffee, or we listen to music when we work or study. Like, this is where a lot of music is consumed. Because of the algorithm, and because whenever you're listening to a whole album and it goes somewhere else afterwards, you are ultimately listening to music and languages that you are not familiar with. But I do think if authenticity is there, you will get the message, like the emotional message behind the band, even though the band is maybe singing in Finnish and you don't speak a word of Finnish. And I think that's a very, very good and great thing about streaming and about its algorithm and about social media, because we get access to parts of the world where we have never been before and where we never listened to the music before. And that's great. I love that. And I work for an artist who has never really sung in its own language, but recently started doing it. And I could see her feeling so good about it, because she felt really comfortable. She wasn't singing in English, you know. I don't know. It was probably just 5 to 10 years ago where a major label would tell you, oof, if you're singing in Hungarian, not sure if it's going to work for you. You should try and sing in English. But then the Hungarian band starts singing in English. They don't even know what to say and which words to use. It doesn't even make sense. It shifts to like a different problem all of a sudden. Because in their own words and in their own language, they could still say what they want to say and how they want to say it. And they could transport the emotion that is behind the music. And I think that's really important. And I think it's coming back in a way.
Yeah, I would fully agree on that. We honestly had this conversation before, but yeah, I can also say something. She's not Hungarian, she's Turkish, but I worked with Derya Yildirim, the last campaign, the media campaign, and it was probably one of my most successful campaigns in the last couple of years, because I really feel like this kind of, I don't know, cultural authenticity is something people really, I don't know if they need it, but they hear it and they hear the difference to all that algorithm stuff. So I feel like this can help, and this is not, it doesn't have to be like Turkish, like in Derya Yildirim's case, can also be like Hungarian cultural stuff, which is playing part at the music, and I think that could help a lot to get the Aufmerksamkeit, the attention of the German tastemakers and journalists, and it's definitely helpful.
By the way, if anyone has questions, you're welcome to. Maybe now. Yes, Peter.
Two questions to Kenno. One is, you mentioned radio a couple of times, so can you elaborate what kind of radio and what shows and how you use the medium? And the other, maybe I tell the other question right away. And to both of you, is this thing, Strike Germany, still an issue for your agency case and festival case? And if yes, how do you deal with it?
Strike Germany? Maybe go to the first question first.
Okay, then I start with yes, I'm sorry for just talking about radio all the time because, I don't know, this is like my day work and for me, a huge part of album campaigns, but also Germany has, for historical reasons, a quite interesting radio world, very diverse. We have a lot of public radios all over the states, and it's not centric like in the UK, for example, which makes radios like very interesting for music campaigns because we have a lot of indie music stations, a lot of nationwide public stations who are playing very, independent music, and it's especially for not mainstream music, it's a very good way to enter the German market.
Strike Germany, can you remind me what that means?
Yeah, interesting that you ask me, because it was a thing there is a poster behind you, the Shape festivals, I'm sure you know the German ones, Atonal, for example. So this pro-Palestine stance versus German cultural funding and this kind of like tension.
Yeah, sorry, there were so many different movements and stuff going on. I wasn't really sure what Strike Germany exactly was, but I remember now. Thank you for explaining. And thank you for the question.
Amazing list for Powerline. So amazing legends. So did you encounter any kind of issue with it where you had to remove somebody? Or
absolutely, yeah, 100%. I don't want to go into the details of it because that would probably, you would all be sitting here for a few days. But it has made our work a little more complicated because music, the way people or the way musicians present themselves is not just for the music anymore, it's also political, and I think that's totally right. Music has always been a political tool, and it should be. There's no way to take that away from anyone. But because of that, and because of the developments in the Middle East, not just recently, also 2.5 years ago, and Germany's position within the situation in the Middle East, Israel, Palestine, which has always been a problem, not just since the 6th of October, for example. Certain attitudes and certain political views would come into Germany, let's say pro-Palestine opinion or worldview, which is not our point here to say if it's right or wrong, but the people that would have these opinions would go on public stages that are funded by a city, by a state, or by the country, or by our government, essentially. And the government fundings come with certain rules. And a big part, or I think the decision for Strike Germany and all of these movements was always circulating around the one thing, German fundings not allowing anti-Semitic speech on publicly funded stages, which I think is correct. I believe we should all agree on that. There shouldn't be no racist speeches about anyone on any stage, anywhere. But because certain things were considered anti-Semitic before going into the details of it, it would come to a situation where a promoter, a festival, would either be attacked by political groups saying, you're inviting this and that artist, has this and that worldview. That's not possible within the German funding regulations, or within the worldview of the Germans, or within the worldview of the Europeans, blah, 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 all of this. And then promoters backing out, because festivals, as you know, are strongly depending on fundings. So if you take away the funding, the festival would probably not be there. So lots of people would be backing out instead of forcing the conversation, which is, I strongly agree, that's what we all should do. We should always have a conversation about anything if there's a problem, not just uninvite people and tell people to not play, rather confront them with your worldview, and they should confront you with theirs, and you have a conversation, maybe make a public conversation, whatever. And this, I think, led to a lot of confusion, not just in Germany, also from outside, because we work with a lot of international artists that would say, are we still safe to play in Germany? And I think it's 100% safe to play in Germany. It was just for a while the case that certain artists wouldn't know if their political worldview is accepted in these rooms on these stages, and I think that caused a lot of confusion and a lot of trouble, and not much has changed, unfortunately. And so yes, it's a big factor in my world and also in my work. And for the last 2 years, I recently ended up, or every other month, I would end up in a situation where I would kind of sit down with an artist and a promoter talking about the Middle East. And I'm like, that was never my topic. Like, why do I become a professionalist in this subject now? And but I felt it was healthy for everyone to sit down and talk always, because at the end of the day, everybody goes out and is like, of course I understand you, and of course you understand me. We basically want the same thing. And I do think that didn't happen so often. And social media is a great catapult for like things that are wrong. And I believe that's what you maybe witness from outside of Germany, that lots of hearsay stuff or stuff that may or may not have happened is transported into the media, and you read about a German venue uninviting this and that band, and of course that's frustrating and it's bad to see. Yes.
Thanks. Yes, please.
Yeah, I have a question. I prepared initially 2 questions, but I already got an answer about the KPIs, the key performance indicators, about the artists, regarding how do they look like for you as a booking and booking agents, PR agents, marketing point of view, and so on. So thank you very much. And another thing I would like to ask, because I'm an artist, and after my first show in Germany, in Bochum, after the Matrix Club, I was thinking that what about niche genres and independent artists? I haven't heard about them yet. So what do you think? Do you have experience about investing independent artists first, or having some risk calculation? So I'm really curious about that, the point of view of taking risks with independent artists. You were talking about excellent team around them, but of course, being an independent, I'm my team. Let's see. So I'm very curious about risk taking and such.
We work with independent artists that have no team. For us as an agency, it's sometimes even better to find out about an artist before they have a team. It helps giving an artist visibility if you have a team around you. Imagine Renato calling me every day about the same artist for 6 weeks straight. Of course, I will listen to this artist. I would maybe not say, yes, I want to work with this artist if I don't like it, but it helps to have these people in a team that circulate your name and distribute the message of your music. But like all artists have to start somewhere, and usually it's them being on their own. And we sign a lot of bands that are on their own still, and we sign a lot of bands that have no team, and we try and find them a team as well. It's not our job as an agency, but we do work with managements, with labels, distributors, all of that. So we can also do the invitation management for like headline shows and say, come play this show in Berlin. we're going to invite all of these people there. It's going to help you build a team. And I think it's important for niches to be there. Like all of the great music out there has started in a niche, probably. And it's important to watch these spaces and to watch these communities and to also still be a part of it. And because a lot of great music is coming from niches and subgenres. And earlier we talked about the subgenre, or like the weirder niche genres also becoming more popular these days, which I don't know if you also witnessed that, but that's something that we agreed on when we talked before.
Yes, I agree. So, for example, authenticity and living comfort zone and doing something authentic. It can be a niche for sure, and it takes a lot of risk. And yeah, I agree. Thank you very much for the answer.
Of course.
And just about the independent artists, do you work with artists directly or only through labels? Let's say, if
as a PR manager, no. There you don't need a team. As a PR manager, we take the decision really much about the music. When we hear the music and we think this can work in the German radio landscape, then we're going to do it. So there's no team needed. Often it's easier without a team, actually. In this case, yeah, not so many discussions I have to take, but no, this is really about the music. Yeah, I mean, of course, when I work with a label like Sub Pop Records, then the name of the label helps a little bit to get the music into some kind of stations. But especially since there are so many like music lovers still in the radio stations, this is more about the music than the team, which is great.
This is encouraging.
Yeah.
And can you focus only on radio, or you branch into playlists as well, or other kind of placements that are more digital and not just terrestrial?
My personal expertise is radio, and this is actually another discussion to talk about online PR and print PR. I don't really think playlist PR is a good thing. I wouldn't recommend at all. But no, I think radio PR is the most important thing in Germany, at least. Yeah.
I may have seen another hand going up. But yes.
I mean, I would tie on the same question. I mean, you talked about the importance of your gut feeling. I'm just wondering, also actually asking the audience first, like how many people are active here in world music as a niche? Like, just to know. Okay, then 20%, or 10ish. So you spoke about the importance of authenticity. And in world music, like the best practice examples are, there were some Eastern European bands playing for themselves. Then a German agent with a Stockim Arsch came there and he started to manage him. To translate the phrase, I don't know the English word. And then they became successful in Germany, and through that they like are touring throughout Europe. When you get your inquiries, like is your gut feeling still influenced whether someone has a German manager or not? Are you accepting inquiries in the same way when it's Pavel at randomband.pl? Are like these authenticity questions, is it easier to write you directly from these Hungarian sources, or we just should look for a German guy who lives in Berlin and contacts you on our behalf?
I would say it's so and so. There's not really a formula that I can tell you, but I think something that we haven't said before, which is kind of self-explanatory, but it's a people's business. And of course it helps if it's a person that knows a person talking to that person. It's the same with friends, you know? A friend of a friend is like more likely to become your friend as well than a random person on the street. So yes, I would say it helps if it's someone that knows, like really knows someone and has a work relationship with this person. If it's a management, a label, a distributor, or a festival, for example. And then there's also the thing about trusting this person. I cannot bring up a lot of trust to a random person that's why usually when a band contacts us directly, I want to get into a call with them. I want to talk to them maybe a few times before I make a commitment. If it's someone you know, the process is much much faster, because then you know, okay, it's this and that guy. We were working together and 3 other artists. The work relationship is very stable and good. Yes, I will. It's more likely for me to work with this person, of course. But yeah, there are also other people that I know that when they contact me, I don't want to work with them. That's also a reality, you know. That's why I wanted to make it very clear. It's a people's business. Like, we can talk about independence and artists reaching out whatsoever, but at the end of the day, it's in Germany we say vitamin B, but it's really important to know the people. That's why exchange, I think, is important as well. I'm not sure how it is for the festival side, but
yeah, unfortunately, pretty much the same, I'm afraid. I don't want to talk too much about the thoughts and strategies of our programming team, because that's their thoughts and I don't want to talk for them. But as far as I know, it's the same. That when you are, that's what I was trying to explain, that with these thousands of applications, you need someone to talk about and filter that for you. And this is why I think, I don't know, going to Reeperbahn Festival over showcase, where you don't have this kind of way around, this is sometimes the more easier way to get a slot there, to try to find, like, either if it's a label you work with or the music export office, to find a slot, which is often way easier. Depends on the country and everything, but.
Is there an association of German booker managers or like Verband, or a list you could?
I don't think there is. No. You will.
You don't unionize?
What? Unionize?
Yeah.
No. I think everybody's trying to protect themselves from having a union in their own company. But I know very, very little promoters or clubs that have unions, but some have, of course. I'm not too sure. I know that there's a thing called the Live Kombinat and the Club Commission in Hamburg, that they're trying to gather people that have the same vision, and you can find all sorts of people in these commissions, which are lawyers, people that run ticketing platforms, then musicians, of course, people that run venues, people that only work at the bar at the venue, which is also an important job, or like all sorts of people. But it's not really organized in a way that these people are managers, these people are booking agents, and so on. A very helpful tool, I think, is something that Reeperbahn Festival offers, is the delegate database. Like, if you're playing there as an artist, you get access to the delegate database. And you can find people's contacts there and their positions in their jobs.
Or if you buy a pro ticket.
If you buy a pro ticket, you can get it too. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. We have more questions than usual, maybe even more. Anyone else? We're also running out of time. Then maybe my last question to you guys is that have you had moments in the last couple of years where you felt like it doesn't make any sense to work in this any longer, and it obviously changed because you are still there, and well, what was that?
Sure. Yes, obviously during COVID, there was nothing to do for me really, and I started a food business, and I realized that working in the food industry is even more complicated than working in the music industry. So I was really lucky to when I got my job back and was able to do this again. But as any job, a job is frustrating. It's not always fun. Like, I believe, I'm not sure if you share the same view, but jobs in the music industry have this shiny, glossy look to it. You are always hanging out and drinking champagne with people. It's not.
Where? I've never been there.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it comes from, but maybe in the 60s, 70s there was something like that going on. But it's an office job. Come on, at the end of the day, you do a lot of computer work. Yes, you get to travel, you go to shows, which you maybe not do if you work for Amazon, but it's a job like any other. And sometimes you have good phases and sometimes you have bad phases.
Okay, thanks. Kino?
Yes, okay, I'm trying to make this not too long, but yeah, I was a teacher before going into music industry, which is a very safe and well-paid job in Germany. So,
What kind of teacher? Sorry.
History and philosophy. And I'm still here, so the love for music is very big. And I was trying to say something about slow campaigns and trying to find my personal way to deal with this fast things are going on in the music industry, because this is what I personally find super annoying. I don't love this. Every single of the album is a single. You need 100 TikToks for every single, and this is something I don't like. So I find my way when I work with labels or I don't know, talk to artists. I'm trying to tell, I can help you, but I have a very conservative way of thinking about campaigns, and there's something I found my love again for this, because I honestly don't care if this is, I don't know if this is what the TikTok algorithm likes or not. I love to tell the story of an album as slow and as possible. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but this is how I found my love again for this industry, to do it my way and not the way.
And you find artists who match with this?
Yeah, I do. And I still think that I have successful campaigns with this kind of way, and I wouldn't do it another way. I'm not 22 anymore, so I won't deal with this kind of music, which is okay, which is fine. I don't have anything against it, but I think I made my point.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So thanks everyone for coming and being active as well, and thanks for you watching this on YouTube, for watching this, and see you soon in a month, I think, but you'll all be you all get a newsletter, and hope to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you
all.